Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for the 2021 MCU film that I am massively disappointed with. I don't know why I was surprised at all. It's the next to last one I have left to see that I have missed from the MCU, aside from Black Widow. That's the final one, which is sad, because Scarlett Johansson, dude. And Black Widow too, who I like. Anyway, this is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Like I said, it came out in 2021. It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes long. And when this came out, I didn't hear a single person I know, locally, online, strangers that do reviews on YouTube. I heard no one praising this but Marvel shills and bots. It's one of those things that came out post-Endgame, like The Eternals and like Thor Love and Thunder and a lot of other garbage, like all of these types of things that keep coming out that are horrible. Guardians 3 and No Way Home are exceptions to the rule, but they are the very rare exceptions of talent being hired for skill and not principle or politics or anything like that. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is something that, from the title alone and the way the current day approach to Shang-Chi and the comic world that he came from 40, 50, 60 years ago, seems like it couldn't be done now, and this movie is definitive proof of that. It's boring. I was into it for like the first 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes when there's this big trolley fight in LA. And I was kind of into the lore building stuff that was happening. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. First and foremost, I don't know. I guess I'll start with the cast here, right? Before I even get into the plot. Well, no, maybe I'll turn it around. Let's do the plot first. Basically, Shang-Chi comes from a corrupt dad and a wonderful mom who I assume was killed by the beginning of the film, the way it talks. And it's really a story about him living a day-to-day life in LA. He was trained up a lot as a kid, basically abused quite a bit too, to be a master of Kung Fu, as the old title of the old comics were. Mind you, I've never read those. I don't know anything about the Master of Kung Fu stories or series. I would love to pick them up if there's like a Marvel Essentials book or anything where I could get my hands on them. I'd love to read that. I want to know more about Shang-Chi and not what we have here, who is constantly having his name pronounced Shang-Chi, who also goes by the name Sean while he's living in LA. He has a childhood best friend, though, which was one of the big reasons that I kept avoiding this piece of shit. This is not a total piece of shit of a movie. There's like a good quarter of a good movie in here. And then the other 3/4 are what make you want to jump out of windows or jump in front of trains. Her name, the best friend from childhood, is the wannabe rapper, Aquafina, who was huge in 2016. And who gives a shit? Aquafina's awful. The first time I ever encountered her, to my knowledge, was when I watched the Dracula Nick Cage, Nicholas Hoult movie, Renfield, about 6 or 8 months ago, somewhere in there. And she was the worst part of that entire movie. That movie was good except for her, and she ruined it. Too much of that film focused on her. I don't know if she's like one of these people that you suspect have blackmail on Hollywood or something, but they focused way too much time on that movie and this movie on this broad who looks like a mule, and I can't stand her. I just can't stand her. Shimu Liu, however you say his name, the guy playing Sean, or Shang-Chi, or whatever his name is, he is blank in his expressions. I don't think he's a good actor. I think he's very clearly like, probably like a Canadian sitcom actor. I'd laugh if that was true. But if he was, that's what he acts like in this movie. There are differences between, sitcom actors and like CW actors and stuff, trying to compare them to a movie actor, like a big actor, like Brad Pitt even, who I don't even like that much, but is better than a sitcom actor most of the time. There's a different caliber amongst the skills of those two types of actors. You could almost make them into their own subgenres of acting. He is one of those types. He is not horrible here. He is not good, but I don't blame him. I think the director is bad here. I think that the writing is bad here on the creative team, even though one of the writers from Across the Spider-Verse is involved with this movie. I just don't think anybody really had the skill to make this movie without just tapping into what it used to be. A martial arts kung fu comic that should have been a martial arts kung fu movie. And it's not that. You have some cool set pieces. Like I said, the trolley ride is probably the highlight of the movie for me, and that's in the first 20 minutes. And that villain in that fight keeps showing up. The actor that plays him is horrible. He's embarrassingly bad. They picked a huge bodybuilder, told him to put on this goofy ass accent that I think is Russian or something like that, and he is horrific in it. They gave him this really weird outfit too. But Sean himself is not the worst written MCU character in my opinion. I just hate the fact that current day MCU stuff has to beat up on men constantly. When he eventually gets into a cage fight, he encounters his sister, who is his younger sister, from his homeland. That's what I heard people on other reviews after I watched the movie a little while ago today talk about this, and I thought it was hilarious. When Sean and his best friend fucking Awkwafina, who should have been in the first 15 minutes of the movie to set up Sean as a character and his lifestyle, and then she should have been out of it. She should have not been his own Mary Jane or whatever. We kind of turned Shang-Chi into what I'm understanding here as Peter Parker versus, what he should be. From what I understand that what he should be, from other people I've talked to and read reviews from after watching this movie today. But a lot of people referred to his homeland as, when we get to that phase of the movie, the Chinese Narnia. And I think that shit is hilarious. I was laughing so hard on the couch when I read that. It was great. But I agree with them. It feels like Chinese Narnia. You have some kind of mystical creatures there. You have this one guy who has this little dog creature thing that has no face. I don't know if that's a standard Howard the Duck type character in Marvel Comics or something. I'm not familiar enough to get into that shit. But I haven't seen it before, and it was bad here. The supporting cast in general are awful. This is mainly, and I don't know how much this is in the comics or not, but Shang-Chi has issues with his dad, who apparently was responsible for his mom dying too. His dad has these 10 rings, as the title talks about, that he fights with, and somehow those things help him live longer, which is kind of wild. The fight scenes, especially the opening one showing a flashback when his dad and his mom met, is embarrassing. I fucking hate the fight scenes, whether it be in the beginning, the middle, or the end, with the rings involvement. Whether Shang-Chi is there, his dad is there, the ring fighting is awful. Sometimes they're used as ways to propel you really high in the air and break your landing. Sometimes they're used as whips and stuff like that. If I'm reading things correctly from what I'm reading online, these are supposed to be the 10 rings the Mandarin wore. Not the Mandarin from the MCU films like Ben Kingsley and Guy Pearce, but the Mandarin from the comics. And I don't know if that's true or not. If that is true, that's even more insulting than what I thought this movie could be to maybe hardcore fans of Shang-Chi out there. If you happen to be out there, let me know, because I would love to hear from you about your opinions of this movie and the comics themselves down below in the comments. But if that's true, if those 10 rings are supposed to be the Mandarin's rings, and I know a little bit about that, not a ton, that would be horrifying. I can't tell you enough how I blacked out trying to watch the first half of this movie last night. I actually passed out on my couch last night, and my wife made me go to bed because of how bad it was. Got up today, watched some Billy and Mandy as a cartoon morning because I had the day off, and then when she woke up, I went upstairs, we hung out for a little bit, had some lunch, and I watched the rest of this shit, and I hated every moment of it. Aside from, again, that first 20 minutes or so, and the trolley fight, that's the best part of the film. That first quarter is the best quarter of the movie. Some of the CGI later on, involving some of the creatures, one in particular in the finale of the movie, I thought was not the villain monster, but the other thing that I don't want to spoil for you if you haven't seen the movie. That looked great. I loved that. I thought that was really cool looking for an MCU beast or monster, whatever you want to call it. It's everything else in here. It's the constant involvement of people like Awkwafina. I thought that Shang-Chi's sister was kind of cute, and I thought that, again, this beating up on Shang-Chi because he's a man thing, these two are constantly, Awkwafina and this sister, are always talking shit to him, always correcting him on everything, beating him up, mocking him, and he just takes it. And I don't understand that. You haven't seen your sister in forever, you probably love her, but you have animosity towards your dad with what happened with him, but you won't stand up to your fucking sister? What? It's goofy as hell. This movie is It's a mess. It should have been a big budget, possibly the biggest budget ever given to a martial arts movie. And when I can sit here and tell you that Jet Li's The One is better than this, well, you should feel aches and pains deep down in your body. This is embarrassing. I'm glad that I waited off this long to get a $3 copy instead of spending $10 for a DVD at the sidelines of Walmart, or in the back alley for that matter, in the trash. Instead of doing that, I waited and I got a $3 copy. And I'm glad I did that because it wasn't worth a theater ticket price. It wasn't worth a brand new DVD price just to have it in the collection and to finally see it. It wasn't worth a $5 or $6 Prime rental fee. So I'm glad I waited off because this was not as insulting and boring and awful as Eternals. It wasn't as insulting and bad and horrific as Thor: Love and Thunder. But it was bad enough for me to say, like, this is the kind of shit of why post-Endgame movies have gotten so horrible. I understand Marvel wanted to break out. They wanted to take another kind of weirdo character and do something with him for the MCU, to add to it, to expand upon it, and that's fine. But this is basically Asian Black Panther to me. I'm not a big fan of the Black Panther first movie. By the way, I haven't seen part 2 of that, so that's another one I missed. Damn, I keep forgetting about that. But not like I'm excited to see it, because Black Panther was shit too. I don't know which one's worse. I think Black Panther was more coherent than this, but both are all over the place and messy and kind of like Lion King knockoffs in a weird way. Not so much this movie, but Black Panther obviously is. Everybody's criticized it that way. The soundtrack for the film can sometimes be okay. I kind of like this Chinese score they have for it in the earlier parts of the movie. It's not consistently there from beginning to end, but it can be okay. But the movie, it feels so corporate and forced, and a lot of people have said that about recent MCU movies. They're not wrong, but I would say this is the most obvious of them. Kind of like Thor: Love and Thunder. That feels like Taika Waititi and Corporation got to sit in a boardroom, figure out what they wanted to do, and make something stupid. That they thought it was genius because it was Taika Waititi, who should have never been trusted to begin with. Yeah, I'm the guy who doesn't love Ragnarok like everybody either. You shouldn't have trusted him the way you do, and you did, and you got that giant mess. This is Asian Black Panther, and it's horrible too. And I don't understand why we didn't just have a big martial arts movie. That probably could have saved this movie in every way. Even if the CGI was bad, even if the fights weren't great, I feel like it could have saved it. There is one distinct scene with the camera angle amongst Shang-Chi in a fight where he's using a stick. It's like the Dragon Ball Z power pole, or the Dragon Ball power pole. It kind of vanishes in Z, but you know what I mean? He's fighting somebody, swings it down to hit them in the face, doesn't even come near them. Dude, we're talking like he is a foot away from their head, and the way the angle is shot, there's no way you could have corrected that at all. And it looks like the person got hit and swung their head down after being smacked in the head with that stick. But there's no way, it clearly did not touch them. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. There are people that fight with fucking air like it's Avatar: The Last Airbender or something in here. I don't know what they were thinking. Why would you abandon the things that made Kung Fu or Master of Kung Fu as popular as it was back in the day? And every fan I've talked to, online mainly, not so much friends. I don't really have friends who read comics as much as I do, or people online do. To abandon things as severely as they apparently did, I don't get what they were thinking. This is such a bad movie. Everything about it. But the Awkwafina constant inclusion would have been less insulting if it had not been her. I don't know what it is. It's something about her face, her teeth, the way she slouches all the time. I just don't like her. She's just awful, and she's not funny either. She's just a piece of shit and annoying in every way possible. And I heard she's in the new Little Mermaid film. That sounds perfect. That sounds just perfect for that movie, doesn't it? Anyway, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Damn, I can't even say the title. Fuck it. It has one good moment in here involving a cameo from Wong in the cage fight I mentioned earlier. And that was cool. I really dug that. It was good to see him. I love Wong, dude. One of the best characters in Marvel. One of the best Asian characters in Marvel in general. He's so fun as a side character in the Doctor Strange films. But this was... I don't even know what I like more. I think I like Doctor Strange 2 more than I like this shit. And that was a horrible film. They abandoned everything that made Sam Raimi for that movie. They didn't have his flair, his humor, his touch of it. None of that in that movie. And I still think I like that better than this, because the ball was dropped so heavily for a possible big-budget martial arts movie. This is embarrassing, and I feel bad for Simu Liu, or however you say his name. I'm sorry, dude, if you happen to be listening to this. I doubt it. But if you do, sorry, bro. Aquafina, you can fuck yourself. I don't know what they were thinking. There's so much shit in this movie, and it just feels like, I don't even think it's pandering, you know? I don't think anybody I know who is Asian liked this movie, from my friends at work or anything. It's amazing to me. I just can't believe how bad this turned out. I thought it would just be kind of a forgettable film, like Thor Ragnarok, or maybe, what's another film that's like that for me? Guardians 2, I'm not a huge fan of too. That's better than this, but I was hoping it would be more in that realm than what it was, which is almost on par with something like Eternals and Thor Love and Thunder. This is embarrassing. I don't even know how to feel about this. Deep down, I'm actually angry about it. Like I said, I would love to find a Marvel Essentials copy or something that would have Shang-Chi in it, where I could read about him, because I feel like that character, by the things I heard about my friends who are fans, they seem to recommend that because of how insulting this turned out. And I'm bummed about that. I wish there was more to it that could have been a good time, and it was not. The fights suck. I don't know. Even the supernatural action stuff sucks. It just doesn't really have an adventure feel that I like. It almost has this twinge of Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai in it. That wasn't done well either. I don't know. Even the family drama just felt like it was not all there. I can't really place everything that I hate about this movie, but it just gets so much wrong with so much messy writing. It's the kind of shit that Chris Stuckman would defend. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just bothered by all of it at the end of the day. I'm glad I waited so long. Like I said, I recommend that for you too if you can borrow it from a friend or see a really, really cheap copy somewhere. But that's it. I would not go out and spend money to get a brand new copy of this if I were you. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is pretty bad. It's a pretty bad, boring-ass movie that will be forgotten in the timelines and the knolls and the valleys and the pits of the MCU and what it's become now as a giant crater, the leftovers of Alderaan, if you will. It's a mess, man. Anyway, have you seen the film? Are you a big Shang-Chi fan? Not a Shang-Chi, but a Shang-Chi fan. What did you think about this movie? If you're a big MCU fan and you know nothing about the character, I'd love to hear more of your thoughts down below, even though I can kind of generally assume that I know what you're going to say. I would love to hear all that down below. I want to hear what people think about this, the disrespect of it compared to what was in the comics back in the day. And if there is a Marvel's Essential volume, let me know. I'm going to look that up in a moment, but let me know if you recommend it. Maybe it's a bad copy, I don't know. But with all that being said, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a pile of garbage, for the most part. Like I said, there's a quarter of a good movie, and that's it. I don't recommend it. You probably don't recommend it either. Let me know everything you think down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.